Welcome back to the deep dive. If you are looking for maybe a shortcut to being well-informed about the best opportunities in remote work, well, you are definitely in the right place.
Yeah.
Our mission today is pretty laser-focused. We're bypassing those flashy tech roles everyone talks about, the ones with insane competition,
Right.
and diving deep into what our source material calls the boring but high-paying remote jobs.
And that core idea, that's what makes this data so interesting, I think. It suggests the highest paying remote jobs, they often lack that popular cool factor, right?
Yeah.
And that lack of glamour, well, it translates directly into low competition and continuous high-value hiring.
Exactly, which is the sweet spot for someone like you, the learner, who's looking to gain that specialized knowledge and, get established pretty quickly.
Absolutely. And the person who originally put this research together, they apparently built significant success in industries like radio control models. That kind of proves the point.
Yeah, it really does. Focusing on the unglamorous, maybe slightly nerdy niche pays extremely well because the demand's there, but, well, the crowd just isn't.
So what we've done is we've boiled down the findings into 7 specific roles, and we're going to evaluate each one using 5 critical criteria from the sources. Earning power, beginner score, like how easy is it to start?
Okay.
Growth potential, survivability, which is really how AI-proof is it?
Crucial these days.
Definitely. And the essential, often overlooked freedom factor. We want to help you figure out which trade-offs really align best with your own priorities.
Okay, let's unpack this. We're starting with roles centered around digital content and strategy, specifically how we create it and how we defend it.
First up, the short form strategist. This is a role that, well, it recognizes that attention spans have basically evaporated.
Right. And what's fascinating here is the sources note you might already be qualified if you're, quote, guilty of a late-night TikTok scroll.
Exactly. It's a purely strategic role.
Right.
You're not filming anything. You're not editing. You're simply watching long-form content, maybe podcasts, webinars, that kind of thing, and spotting the moments that have the potential to go viral.
Okay.
Then you tell the editing team exactly what to do. The pacing, the hooks, what to cut, what to keep. You're essentially the brains behind making that content pop on social media.
That makes sense why the beginner score is so high then, a solid 9 out of 10. It's more about understanding trends and pacing, not necessarily needing, formal qualifications.
Exactly right. And the earning power. Well, the range is wide. It can go up to something like $172,000 for top consultants.
Wow.
But the source realistically puts a starting estimate at a very decent $48,000.
Not bad at all.
And the growth potential is strong too, 8 out of 10. Because if you can actually prove your strategies get views, you can negotiate performance bonuses. That's how you jump well into that 6-figure bracket.
Okay, but the survivability question always comes up. We hear constantly that AI is getting better at content generation.
Yeah, that's fair. But the score here is still a strong 8.5 out of 10. The key insight seems to be that AI can optimize, sure, but it can't really empathize. Viral content. It's driven by cultural insight, timing. It needs that human understanding. AI can generate text, even video, fine. But content strategy, the source says it's currently incredibly bad at that.
Interesting. It lacks the eye for what really clicks with people right now.
Precisely. That nuanced strategic view.
So if strategy is about creation, then the flip side is content defense. Which brings us to job number 7, actually. The content risk reviewer. Less glamorous, maybe, but sounds vital.
Oh, absolutely vital. This is basically the defense layer for major platforms.
Yeah.
Reviewing uploaded content for appropriateness. Think about YouTube, right?
Yeah.
They rely on massive ad revenue. They need human moderators to protect them from bad press. The source specifically mentions the fallout from the ad apocalypse. Remember that?
Oh, yeah, when brands pulled out because their ads showed up on awful stuff.
Exactly. So these reviewers prevent that.
And the demand must be just relentless. The source mentioned over 500 hours of video uploaded every single minute.
It's staggering. That's 720,000 hours daily. So yeah, growth potential is consequently a 9 out of 10 because this volume is only going up.
And the pay.
Earning power settles reliably around $80,000 per year, according to the data.
Okay. And security-wise, survivability.
This one gets a perfect 10 out of 10 for survivability. It's one of the highest scores for security.
A perfect 10. Why so high?
Well, the data confirms this is an area where algorithms just failed dramatically. Companies tried using AI for this moderation.
Right.
But they consistently went back to human moderators because the AI just couldn't detect the necessary nuances. especially with disturbing or, edge case content.
So the job is absolutely necessary, secure, but there's that serious mental cost, isn't there? That impacts the freedom factor, which is only 8.5 out of 10 here.
Absolutely. That's the big trade-off.
Yeah.
The content risk reviewer has to regularly deal with flagged content, which, by definition, can be highly disturbing.
Yeah.
That significant mental and emotional toll, it's a non-negotiable part of the job. And it's really critical for you, the learner, to recognize that going in.
Okay, let's shift gears a bit from digital defense to more fundamental business efficiency and scaling. Let's start with job number 3, the remote tech specialist.
Right. This is a fantastic role for anyone who's patient and, pretty comfortable with modern cloud-based tools. You're essentially the fixer for small business owners.
The ones who know they need to modernize but are maybe overwhelmed.
Exactly. You're setting up smoother, faster systems for them, maybe implementing a simple project management dashboard or centralizing their paperwork online somewhere, making things easier.
Okay. And the earning power typically lands around $60,000 a year. Beginner score is 7 out of 10, so you don't need a CS degree, but
you absolutely need confidence with the software and, crucially, the patience to walk non-tech-savvy people through it step by step.
Got it. And the growth here, is it just about more businesses needing help?
Well, partly, but I found it fascinating that the source links this growth directly to regulatory changes, too. Growth potential is high, 9.5 out of 10.
Regulatory, how so?
Because updating tech isn't optional anymore for many businesses. The data mentioned e-invoicing becoming a legal requirement across parts of Europe, for example.
Oh.
It highlights that these, quote, boring tech updates are often mandatory just to survive and compete globally.
Right. So survivability, does AI just learn to set up these dashboards instead of a person?
Actually, quite the opposite. According to the source, survivability is 9 out of 10. AI makes the tools themselves better, more complex even.
Which increases the need for a human specialist.
Exactly. You need someone to set them up, adapt them, explain them to each specific business owner and their team. AI is a very capable assistant here, no doubt, but it's not replacing the human consultant role anytime soon.
Okay, next up, job number 6, the remote setter. This sounds like the definition of a high-potential, maybe high-speed remote role.
Yeah, it can be. This is a sales role, but specifically focused on qualifying leads. You're basically filling the calendar for coaches, consultants, high-profile influencers.
How? Like cold calling?
Mostly through DMs, actually. Direct messages on platforms like Instagram or LinkedIn. You're asking the right questions, figuring out if someone is a genuinely good fit for whatever program or service is being offered.
And then you pass them on.
Then you pass that warm, qualified lead to the closer, the person who actually finalizes the sale.
Okay. Now, the beginner score here is tied for the top at 9 out of 10. That surprised me a bit. I'd assume a commission-based sales role would be tough for a beginner.
That's a really good question. The score is high because the companies hiring for this role are highly incentivized to train you well and quickly.
Ah, because you directly bring in leads.
Exactly. So they often provide intensive training on scripts, psychology, handling objections. They want you succeeding because it directly impacts their bottom line. They see a clear return fast.
And the earning power reflects that potential, I guess. It's a commission model, right? The source says $3,000 to $7,000 per month.
That's the range, yeah. Which can scale up to $84,000 a year, potentially more. And that's without needing to close any deals yourself. You're just setting the appointments.
That's pretty impressive. What's the catch? The freedom factor.
That's the main constraint. It sits at 7 out of 10. Yes, you're remote, but you are pretty strictly tied to your inbox. Response times matter a lot.
Especially during launches or campaigns.
Absolutely. The source summed it up nicely.
Ah.
You're free from the office, but not from your phone. That's the trade-off.
Okay. Moving now into roles driven more by risk, validation, and some pretty intense analysis. Job number 5 is the statistics validator.
Right. This job is driven almost purely by legal defense, believe it or not.
Legal defense.
Yeah. You are fact-checking those bold marketing claims. The 9 out of 10 dentists recommend this kind of thing.
To make sure they're actually true.
Exactly. To prevent the company from facing multi-million-dollar lawsuits or big regulatory fines for false advertising.
Okay, I can see why companies would be desperate for that. The source gives it a perfect 10 out of 10 for growth potential. But it sounds like there's a higher barrier to entry here.
There is. The beginner score is the lowest on our list, actually, a 6 out of 10.
Why so low?
It demands a really sharp analytical eye. You need some existing or quickly learnable knowledge of statistics. and just intense, meticulous attention to detail.
Can you learn that online?
The sources suggest you can, yes, but it requires, let's say, more dedication than just figuring out TikTok trends. It's a different skill set.
And survivability. Is this another area where AI isn't trusted?
Strong survivability, 8.5 out of 10. The data suggests, the risk is just too high for companies to trust full automation here.
Why not? AI seems good with data.
It can scan data, yes, but it lacks that human nuance, understanding intent, or the legal context behind how a statistic is being used in a marketing campaign.
The interpretation.
Exactly. The potential for a multi-million-dollar AI error in this critical area, it's just too high for companies to accept right now.
Okay, let's transition to a related role, maybe, one that deals with human failure in a different way. The customer service coordinator. We're back to that human middleman idea, but for tech support.
Yeah, essentially. This coordinator is that crucial human layer for when the AI chatbots fail, which they still do, especially when customers get frustrated or the issue is complex. The research highlights a specific pain point. Something like 69% of UK customers report that current chatbots often miss the tone, the frustration, especially when things get personal or emotional.
Right. You need a person then. And the growth potential is another perfect 10 at 10. Why so high?
It comes down to structural efficiency for the business. Having one coordinator who manages the bots and only steps in when a conversation breaks down.
That's way cheaper than having loads of full-time agents.
Exactly. It's far more efficient than hiring, say, 5 or 10 full-time support agents. It's a really essential bridge role, high-leverage work.
Makes sense. Survivability.
It's decent, 7.5 out of 10. The human connection is crucial right now. However, the source does add a little caution here. That AI could theoretically improve its ability to handle tone and frustration better in the future. But for now, that human coordinator is pretty irreplaceable.
Okay. Here's where it gets really interesting. Let's talk about job number 4, the funeral sales specialist.
Oh, yes.
This feels like the perfect example of a subject nobody finds glamorous, but the demand, financially and professionally, is just overwhelming.
It really is. This role involves pre-needed funeral sales. So counseling families, providing essential planning, giving them peace of mind by arranging things ahead of time.
So it's not selling at the time of need, mostly.
Primarily pre-need, yes. It carries a significant emotional weight, no doubt, but the job security and the financial reward can be immense.
And it boasts the highest starting pay on the entire list we looked at. The average for these reps in the U.S. is $75,000.
That's the average starting, yeah. With top performers consistently breaking $90,000, even hitting $106,000, according to the source data.
Wow. And the demand, I assume, is just locked in due to demographics.
Completely unavoidable. That's why it gets a 9.5 out of 10 for growth. We all know the population is aging rapidly.
Right.
One source, the Washington Post, pointed out that there are now more deaths than births in most UF counties. That's driving end-of-life planning demand through the roof.
Especially with funeral costs being so high. What's the average now?
Around $8,300, the source mentioned. So planning ahead makes sense for many people.
And survivability against AI. This has to be the ultimate human job, right?
A perfect 10 out of 10, no question. AI cannot replicate, and likely never will, the human connection, the empathy needed to comfort someone who is grieving or planning for that eventuality.
It's a life event technology just can't grasp.
Exactly. The tech hasn't lived, so it can't truly understand death or loss. It can't provide that genuine comfort.
But that emotional weight is the trade-off. That's why it has the lowest freedom factor score on the entire list. Just 6 out of 10.
That's the crux of it.
Remote, yes, but often high time restrictions, maybe being on call, and just that profound emotional weight the worker carries every day. It sounds mentally tough.
It absolutely can be. That's the core tension of this role. You get maximum security, maximum AI proofing.
But at a significant personal cost.
Exactly. You have to weigh that very carefully.
Okay, let's try and synthesize all this data for the learner listening. What's the big takeaway, the so what, when we look across this matrix of 7 jobs?
Well, the overarching trend, I think, is crystal clear. The most secure, highest-paying remote jobs that we looked at here. They are the ones requiring skills that AI fundamentally struggles with.
And those skills fall into a few key buckets.
Yeah, we really see 3 key areas where jobs hit those perfect 10-10 scores for either survivability or growth. Number 1, nuanced strategy, like the short form strategist.
Oh, okay.
Number 2, handling significant legal and corporate risk, like the statistics validator.
Right.
And number 3, dealing with complex human emotional interaction, like the funeral sales specialist or even the content risk reviewer, though that's a different kind of emotional load.
So let's quickly recap the leaders in each category for someone trying to choose. Fastest entry point, highest beginner score.
That was a tie. The remote setter and the short form strategist both scoring 9 out of 10, largely because companies provide really good training for those roles.
Okay. For long-term scaling and sheer necessity, highest growth potential.
Another tie, both getting a perfect 10-10. The customer service coordinator for business efficiency and the statistics validator for managing that crucial legal risk.
Got it. And for maximum AI proofing, highest survivability, the safest bets long-term.
That's where we saw the funeral sales specialist and the content risk reviewer, both hitting a perfect 10 out of 10. The ultimate anchors against automation based on this data.
And finally, money, highest earning potential, both starting and max.
Right. The funeral sales specialist offered the highest reliable starting pay, around $75,000, but the highest maximum potential, scaling way up to $172,000, that was the short form strategist.
So the best choice really hinges on what you prioritize personally. Is it easy entry, growth, security, top dollar?
Precisely. There's no single best job. It depends on your individual goals and tolerances.
This whole deep dive, though, it really leaves us with one maybe unavoidable conclusion about the future of remote work, doesn't it?
I think it does. If we look at the big picture from this data, it presents a really critical trade-off that goes way beyond just the money or the skills.
You mean the emotional cost?
Yeah. The two jobs deemed most AI-proof, the funeral sales specialist and the content risk reviewer, both high and 10 survivability, they also carry the highest documented emotional or mental costs because of the nature of the work. They demand the most from you, the human element.
So what does this all mean? Well, that really raises a critical final thought for you, the learner. Given this information, how should you weigh the importance of absolute job security, that perfect 10-10 survivability against your own personal freedom, and, frankly, your emotional well-being when you're planning your long-term remote career?
It forces you to decide which factor, earning power, beginner score, growth, survivability, or that crucial freedom factor you are most willing to potentially sacrifice, or at least compromise on, to get what you value most in the others.
Something definitely worth thinking about as you explore these options further.